What's up guys, and welcome to another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Character Profiles. This week we're doing Zone from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. So his English name is Z-1, but it's pronounced as Zone. In the Japanese it's pretty much exactly the same. His age, he's very old because he was once a man, and then he got old, and then machines kept him alive, and then he went back in time. It's, you know, he's old. His anime debut was in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds episode 93, The Question of the Card. And here is a list of all the duels he's been involved in. This is his duel score, so there you go. So Zone is a cyborg and the main villain of the arc Cradle Arc. That sounds weird to say. And he was the final antagonist of the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds anime. He is the founder of Yolasta and works alongside with Aporia, Antinomy and Paradox. Zone is effectively responsible for all the other main antagonists in one way or another, as well as for the first Zero Reverse incident that split Satellite and New Domino City into two. He's from about 200 years after the present day events of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, so he's like old. Zone comes from an apocalyptic future where he assumed the identity of Yusei Fudo to try to protect humankind from extermination by the Mech Lord Emperors. But unfortunately he failed to stop the Zero Reverse that destroyed the planet. With the world in ruins and humans nearly extinct, Zone sends robotic copies of his associates back in time with the mission of changing history. Though their agenda is noble, the four are willing to go to any lengths necessary to succeed, believing that the discovery of Entity can be erased and the end of the world can be averted. So it is possible the name Z1 is derived from the fact that he is the last human, as Z being the last letter of the alphabet matches this, and he is the last one. Zone could also be taken as symbolic of Alpha and Omega, using the first number and last letter, which is a phrase reflecting Zone's self-assumed position as a god. So Zone is contained in a machine shaped like either a comma, the number 6, or a Japanese magatama. The machine prolongs his life and appears to make his voice sound mechanized. The back and front sides resemble the Yusei Go, with all markings identical to that Duel Runner, except for the fact that it has an opposite colour scheme. He covers his face with a mask with only his left eye visible, which happens to be the same colour and shape as Yusei's eye. The figure has a marking on his mask similar to Yusei's criminal mark as well. Zone's helmet is also similar to Yusei's helmet, including the yellow diamond in the centre front, but also has the opposite colour scheme with white instead of red. Following the apocalyptic future, Zone modified his body in the form of Yusei Fudo and rides the Yusei Go. However, the red design on the inner shirt is altered somewhat from Yusei's original design. The alteration was that it was still the same design in every way, except it was completed with a missing leg, forming a gateway-like design rather than the half circle it normally is. As well as the orange patches on his collar that are normally round were square, his version of the Yusei Go has some small differences as well, with different colouring for the dual disc arm, different framing over the wheels, and what appears to be a gun-type weapon mounted on the seat on the right side. He also dismounts from the left side, whereas Yusei always dismounted from the right. Ever since Zone was a researcher during that time, he was always lonely and dependent on his work, figuring out how to stop the Entity and the planetary particle from going out of control. When he discovered how Yusei saved the city from disaster, he became obsessed with becoming like him by changing his appearance and his personality into the form of Yusei Fudo. When he became Yusei, he shows a focus and a clear-minded attitude similar to Yusei, when he tells the survivors the Entity cannot be controlled as long as the people continue to seek evolution at such a greedy pace. After that, Zone became more at ease when he finally saved them from their own demise. But it only lasted for a short amount of time, because there were far too many negative feelings in people, he couldn't save them all. So in Zone's time when he was a scientist, humanity's accelerated evolution led to a society that was cruel, greedy and corrupt. One day, an army of Mech Lord Emperors appeared to attack New Domino City. Watching the chaos that was spreading, Zone researched a way to stop the Mech Lord Emperors by stopping their power source, Enter D, and the planetary gear, which responded to the people's hearts. Knowing he himself would not be enough to inspire people to change their ways, Zone remembered the stories of a legendary hero who had saved Neo Domino City in the past. Researching Following Yusei's defeat of the Dark Signers and the Earthbound Immortals, Zone resolved to become Yusei himself, believing that by copying his personality and appearance he could be the hero people needed. Using footage of Yusei's duels, he became an identical copy of Yusei, the result being identical to the real Yusei in every detail except for a cybernetic plate over his right side of his face, which he concealed with his helmet. People took notice of his examples and followed him, helping each other and learning to understand one another as well. With their negative feelings gone, the Mechlord Emperors actually stopped attacking them. However, Zone's efforts were too late and there were still too many negative emotions in people. Zero Reverse occurred and society was destroyed, leaving few survivors. Since then, his outlook changed as he believed his efforts had been in vain and that changing the hearts of humanity was impossible. Thus, the only way to save the future was to go into the past, before Entity D became widely used and the Machine Emperors appeared. So Zone uses a Time Lord deck focused on a burn, bouncing playstyle. His Time Lord monsters are level 10, but he uses non-existence and its upgraded forms Endless Emptiness and Infinite Light to summon them from his hand without the needs for tributes, and also to summon his ace monster, Cephalon the Ultimate Time Lord. He also uses Tarot-themed trap cards that activate directly from his hand. The names of his monsters are references to the Archangels of Sephiroth, and correspondingly there are 11 Time Lords, 10 for each aspect of the Sephiroth, and 1 representing the entire group. Despite competing in both ground duels and turbo duels, Zone was only shown using one deck. In the apocalyptic future, Zone was also shown to use Shooting Star Dragon while impersonating Yusei Fudo. And with that guys, that's another episode done. Don't forget to leave a like, favourite and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to suggest someone for next week, and yeah, thanks for watching.